and welcome to Virtua's Health's Real Talk Women's Health Chat. You think I'd have that memorized by now? I'm Nicole Michalik from 92.5 XTU, and I'm thrilled once again to be your host for tonight's holiday-themed event, Mindful and Merry Holiday Happy Hour. First, a few helpful tips for tonight's event. You're going to be emailed a recording of the discussion next week for you to watch at your convenience. Your camera and microphone are disabled, but you can still ask our panelists questions through the Q&A tab. There will be a time for a Q&A toward the end of the hour, so just keep those questions ready. Thank you so much to those who have already submitted excellent questions for our experts when you registered. We have incorporated so many of them in advance into the discussion. So, as we all know, the holidays are expected to be joyful and packed with memory making. But as women, we know they can also be a pressure cooker for us. And we take on the roles of planners and organizers and decision makers in our houses, which can lead very little room to breathe and really enjoy the holiday season. It can be easy to lean on alcohol to unwind. But drinking can actually have the reverse effect. And tonight we're going to explore the benefits of taking a break from alcohol, even if it's just for a brief period. We're going to chat about practical mindfulness tips and enjoy some fun holiday mocktail demonstrations. But first, let me introduce our incredible experts. Dr. Thomas-Patterson. Dr. Denee Thomas-Patterson is a board-certified family medicine physician known for her expertise in diagnosing and treating a wide range of health conditions. Dr. Thomas-Patterson earned her medical degree from Eastern Carolina University School of Medicine. She completed her family medicine residency and women's health fellowship at Crozer Keystone Health System. A former assistant professor at Temple University, Dr. Thomas-Patterson is celebrated for her contributions to healthcare and her ability to effectively communicate complex medical concepts, as evidenced by her numerous awards and speaking engagements. Patients and colleagues alike appreciate her commitment to high quality care and her proactive approach to community health. Excellent. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Drew Davis, founder of Gem Life. Founder of Gem Life and Bar Bottle Shop, one of the nation's first alcohol-free bottle shops and bars. After facing life-threatening complications from an autoimmune disease in 2020, she made the decision to give up alcohol and rebuild her life with intention. What began as a personal transformation became a mission to create spaces where people can connect, celebrate, and feel inspired without alcohol. Since launching Gem, Drew has been featured in outlets like Forbes, Vogue, Shondaland. I'll never forgive Shonda for scandal. And leadership for her amazing alcohol-free movement. Based in New Jersey, she continues to inspire others and live mindfully, prioritize wellness, and find joy in authentic connection. Drew will be taking us through some fun mocktail recipes throughout the happy hour. Don't worry, the recipes will be shared by email next week, so you'll have them for the holiday season. Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, I'm obsessed with powerful, intelligent women, and I already said you're beautiful. Before we get started, let's raise our glasses and toast. I have my my iced Americano with almond milk, and we want to celebrate a season where we give ourselves permission to slow down, to breathe deeply, to savor the moments that matter. May our glasses be full of flavor, hearts full of gratitude, and our spirits light. Cheers to being merry, mindful, and present this holiday season and all of 2026 and beyond. Thank you for being here. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm like, my cup will be full soon. So pretend to take a
Love
sip.
it. I'll also take a sip of my water. They were like, "Do you have drinks?" I go, "Oh, don't worry. I'm always having something." All right, Drew, we are so thrilled to have you with us here tonight. Your personal story is inspiring, it's amazing, and it has led you here to be the forefront of this sober movement. Can you share a little bit about your personal journey and what has inspired you to start Gem Life and Bar?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me. It means a lot to be able just to share and connect with community, and hopefully my story can help you in your journey. So it's a little twofold, my journey. I grew up in a house who didn't have a great relationship with their drinking. So I saw that as a child, and there was always lots of alcohol at family parties and things like that. So just, put that on the back burner. And then as I got older, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease pretty young at like 17, 18. But then as I got older, it progressively got worse. It spread to other areas of my body. I've been diagnosed with lupus, vasculitis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, Epstein's-Barr, the list goes on. The inflammation took over. And in 2020, my pancreas I had like an acute flare up with my pancreas that ended me in the ICU for about 10 days. Actually at Virtua. So Virtua is a very pivotal part of my story. So I spent about 10 days there in April of 2020, which was in the beginning of COVID. So I couldn't even have any visitors or family. My children and my husband would pull up and wave out the window because that's the only way I could connect with them because we didn't know what was happening, like
Yeah.
there's COVID happening. Like it was in such a weird time. And during that time, I realized that life was very short and that we need to figure out ways to enjoy ourselves, be more present. Did not know that it would evolve into owning Gem Life and Bar. But when I was checking out of the hospital, the doctors were like, we really would suggest taking a year off from alcohol to let your pancreas heal. Because if you drink again, it could send you right back here. And as we know, most of us know your pancreas is really hard. It's not replaceable. I'm sure Dr. Donnie can talk about that. There's a lot of things to help you, but once the pancreas is gone, it's a really hard road and it's a very short-lived road. So I knew that I needed to make a lot of changes in my life. I am married. I have 4 beautiful children. I have a lifetime to go. I was only 35 at this point. I'm now 40, but 40 and fabulous, right? But
Yeah, 40, okay, 40 is the new 25. 40 is the
right,
new,
yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know where the idea came from, but I found that we needed to start finding beverages that nourished our body, that we could celebrate sobriety in a way without making it shameful. And I created Gem, a space that it started online because it was in the middle of 2020, that ended up to be a community space where people could shop, they could find alternative beverages. We have wellness experiences here. It's just a place to feel safe and seen. And it helped me on my journey. I mean, I'm 5 years alcohol free and I'm off of a lot of medications. I'm doing things more integrative medicine. I'm seeing my symptoms go down. So that's kind of my journey and all. But it's a little bit of not having the best relationship with alcohol, and also my health was just spiraling. And so the two combined really it's like the phoenix. I just kind of combust and then I rose again.
Did you always have an entrepreneurial spirit? Like, were you always like health and wellness, or was that moment pivotal for you to start this?
So I would like to say I was into health and wellness, but I think it was like a facade a little bit. I was in the beauty world, and so beauty and wellness and all of that. But like I would work out, but then I would go to happy hour afterwards. So there wasn't like that sounds great and all, but the A to Z, like I wasn't doing it all the way.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurial, I owned my own makeup company. My dad owned a business growing up, so I feel like it probably was in my blood. I just didn't realize it all the way.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Dr. Don, before we jump into this, I think that what you're doing is also so imperative to these amazing health chats, right? Where we're obviously talking to women about health, but it's that also that confidence to say there's probably so many women that have so many ideas and want to do other things, want to maybe go on a different journey. And it's like, yeah, we're here talking about your health, but your mind and your spirit. And it's like you were like, oh, I'm 40. It's like 40 is the new 25. Like if you want to do something, like we want to help and inspire. And so we're starting with the physical part, but like I think this session in particular is going to have a lot of, physical, emotional, mental, all the things combined. So, Dr. Donnie, from a clinical perspective, can you explain what alcohol does to the body and what benefits people that can experience when they reduce taking a break from the drinking?
Right. So the thing about alcohol is a lot of us have just grown up around it, like Drew was saying. But it does have effect on the body. And if you think about it, alcohol has zero nutrition, We never really think about it that way, but it doesn't have any vitamins. It doesn't have any minerals. It's not hydrating. So there's that. It just is not a nutritious thing for us. But it can affect every organ system, particularly the brain. There's studies that show that there's increased risk of dementia and alcohol related damage to the brain. It can increase anxiety and depression. For the mouth and the throat, there's increased risk of cancer. For the heart, it can increase hypertension and stroke. It can increase the risk of breast cancer, especially in women. For the liver, it can cause fatty liver, which can turn into hepatitis or cirrhosis or liver cancer. For digestion, it can cause ulcers, stomach cancer, bowel problems, irritable bowel, it can trigger, and reproductive, people don't think about it. It can actually cause temporary impotence or reduce fertility. And it's been associated with 7 different types of cancers. And we don't really talk about alcohol and cancer, but it's been linked to increased risk of 7 different cancers.
Well, it's like exactly you said when we opened this, like we have been brought up in a society that really normalizes it, and no one really talks about why we're doing it. It's just so
Mhm.
normal. And
Right.
it's almost like looked, and I'll share a little bit of my personal story. I told you guys when we were doing our dress rehearsal, but like I'm not a drinker. I've never been a drinker. It's just something like in college, I like used to try to force myself, and I'm like, I don't like how I feel. I don't like the taste of it. I don't like this. And so especially in my 20s and even like early 30s, like I would have to explain. They're like, you don't drink, and I'm like, no. I'm like, and then I was like, this is cool. Like now I just think it's cool. And I'm like, no, I don't drink it. It's fine. Like I'm still the first one out on the dance floor. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't need to drink to be on the dance floor. So I always enjoy talking about alcohol because it's something that like I don't do, and so I'm very fascinated in the journey of it. So I was really excited about that. So, Dr. Johnny, we know that alcohol impacts women in perimenopause, postmenopause differently than other stages of life. So, what should women be aware of in these different transitions of their life?
Well, if you think about it, the alcohol can affect our hormones. So it really does affect what is menopause. It's just a hormonal state, right?
Right.
So just to digress a little bit, um, we all have hormonal states throughout our lives as a woman. And so hormonal states hit you particularly at teenage years. So alcohol really affects teens too. We didn't really
Right.
talk about that. We can come back
Yeah.
to it. But to
Yeah.
your question, alcohol can actually worsen menopausal symptoms. It can increase the hot flashes. It can interfere with sleep. It can give you mood swings. So it can trigger depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. It actually increases the risk of heart disease. So as the estrogen goes down, our risk of heart attack actually goes up, and alcohol can actually increase that. So the risk of heart disease actually increases, the risk of bone thinning, so osteoporosis, and it actually increases so the cancers like I was talking about. And then if you think about it also, it lessens our tolerance for alcohol. So it makes the hangovers more, makes weight gain more, and it makes your metabolism slow down. So it actually really interferes with menopause.
This is such a good topic because I feel like we've done a bunch of these on hormones and menopause and women, and I do feel like grateful that social media they're talking more about menopause and perimenopause now, right? Like you see it more. But I think what happens is that so many women have these terrible menopausal symptoms, so they think drinking alcohol is going to help them sleep or it's going to help take the edge off, but it actually is just making it's this like circle effect. It's actually
It,
making it worse.
it's actually the inverse. It actually, I mean, alcohol can make you feel a little sleepy temporarily, but it actually interferes with your sleep cycles. That's a whole nother talk, but it interferes with your sleep cycle, especially if you do it for long term. And a lot of people have problems with insomnia. Mhm.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on the benefits of abstaining from alcohol, even if it's just for a short period of time?
Well, as I was saying, we know that alcohol can increase the risk of those 7 different cancers: mouth, larynx, esophagus, breast, liver, and colorectal. So the less alcohol that you have, it's cumulative. So the less alcohol that you have, it actually decreases those risks. So um, if you, I would recommend that people pick a month or a couple of months where, if abstaining from alcohol altogether is not really an option for them, they go no alcohol in November, and then they'll go no alcohol in January, and then maybe a couple more, pick several more months, because it is cumulative. And then we'll talk about how to cut down too, even for the times in between. That's going to be paramount. Um, there's just really no study that says that alcohol in any amounts is safe. We talk about wine being heart healthy. We can talk about that as well, but doing it in heavy amounts really can be very harmful. So we know within 1 hour of stop doing alcohol, it can decrease your levels of cognition. But within 3 to 5 days of no alcohol, you actually improve your brain function, and your sleep patterns can normalize. After a week of no alcohol, digestion and skin appearance improve, and people show increased risk, decreased risk of anxiety. After a year, if you really cut down, your risk of heart disease and liver disease actually decrease. And 5 years, your risk of any cancers goes back to as if you were a non-drinker.
Wow.
Yeah. So it actually can repair. The body is healing, right?
It is. Yeah, I love
I
this.
say it's like Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
I stopped when I got younger, I swear.
Yeah, 100%. Drew, do you have any drink recommendations for peri and postmenopausal women that won't trigger symptoms?
So there's a lot of recommendations. I always say check with your doctor. There's a lot of natural herbs, like lemon balm, magnesium, things that are safe that we can ingest and take that can help our nervous system, help calm us, that I think are really great alternatives, because I do feel like there's a heightened anxiety with perimenopause, with hormones. I know I've experienced that as I enter perimenopause, this random like wave of anxiety I've never had before. So these herbs will actually nourish your nervous system, like reishi mushrooms. But there's also the risk, like we're all allergic to different things. We're all sensitive to different things. So I always say try them. I recommend them, like they could help you. I can't promise any and promote any of that, but they could encourage you to like, be more restful. Also, anything with like low sugar. I mean, as we all know, sugar is a highly addictive substance that nobody wants to talk about either. And that can dysregulate your hormones and your digestion. And so we talk like low sugar beverages. We have alternatives to wine without sulfates that can trigger, inflammation, or some women are allergic to the sulfates and they don't realize. So we do have lots of options. I carry over 350 different beverages in my store, that are all alcohol free, that range from like holistic herbs to just non-alcoholic.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't wait to come over, Drew. It's so fun. All
You have
right.
to come visit.
Yes, mocktail demo number 1, a Mary Berry Fizz. So
Yeah.
fun.
All
So,
right.
Drew, do you want to introduce what this is?
So I got the vintage fancy glass. This one is just super easy. It's things that you could already have in your fridge. It's a nice alternative. It's cranberry, pomegranate. And then you could either add like a non-alc sparkling wine if you want to add a little fanciness to it, or you could just do some sparkling water. Sometimes I even add like tart cherry in there because that can promote like sleepiness, like the little sleepy girl mocktail. So I'm gonna fill the cup with ice, and then I mean, I'm literally grabbing the ocean spray cranberry juice, guys. It's like we're in my kitchen right now. So we're gonna fill half the cup with the cranberry. You got your
Nice.
cranberry too, yes? And then I'm trying to, and then we got the palm juice.
Love
So half cranberry, and then we're gonna fill probably to about right there with the pomegranate. And then I have like one of my favorite non-alc wines that you could use if you love a Prosecco. It's called Good Twin, sulfate-free, organic. But today, just for the sake of like having things in our fridge, we're just going to use Kirkland's Best, guys. Costco is my favorite place.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just a sparkling water. And then I love to make things fancy because I feel like everything's a ritual. So
Yeah.
I got some frozen cranberries I'm tossing in. And then I love a good swizzle stick. This one is a reindeer. So we're just gonna
Cute.
stir it all up. And then that's how easy it is. You can add a
Right.
little tart cherry and then sip on this, while you watch your TV show or hang out with your family around the table. And you feel included in the party.
Yeah, and I think also there's a lot of people who drink that don't want a sweetness. And like you said, with certain juices or certain non-alcoholic, you're still getting that kind of taste, right?
Yeah.
Like I think people think, oh, like I have to have soda or I have to have like sweetened, strawberry limoncello seltzer.
Yeah.
It's like, no, no, no. Like there's so many different things that we can do now, which I
Yeah.
think. And here's the thing, the holidays are an emotional time for a lot of people, right? So whether it's additional pressure of juggling priorities, especially women, especially working moms, not only do you have family dynamics, you have grief over loss of a loved one. We know that physically your health has improved since becoming sober. How would you say sobriety, Drew, has helped affect your emotional health overall?
So that's like something that I didn't know I was prepared to talk about when I first got sober because I didn't realize that I was kind of like a functioning depressed human because I think my cycle of alcohol, like experienced severe anxiety. Like I didn't want to talk to people, didn't want to leave my house like the day after drinking too much. I just got my nervous system was just on overload processing all that. And I think that we don't talk about how much alcohol affects the nervous system.
Yes.
And then the next 2 days, I would kind of be sad, depressed, more emotional. I couldn't handle like my children's issues like I should. Like I would be like more triggered. Like if they didn't pick up, I'd be more angry. My husband and I's relationship was suffering. And I'm very transparent about this. Like, I didn't know how to communicate effectively because I was still like mentally like in a fog for a couple of days after drinking. And then once I stopped drinking, it was like the veil of grayness lifted. And I realized that like I had tools that I could learn how to manage like stress better. My relationship with my husband got better. There was less arguments over silly things. There was like better communication. I just felt like a more present mother. And that was hard for me I think it's hard when you are experiencing that. And then you're like, hold on, that was me. And it's hard to look back and there's guilt and there's shame wrapped in it. But I'm big on not allowing that guilt and shame to sit with you, and that can just weigh you down and keep that depression. So I really learned to work through it, forgive myself, talk to my family, apologize for any of my actions, when I was drinking. And I'm not saying I was like wild. I mean, sometimes I might have been, but it's just like that. The habit like I got in was like I worked corporate America, very stressed out, working 12 to 13 hours a day, having 4 kids in daycare, in school, like, and then I would come home and drink like 3 or 4 glasses to unwind because I thought that was the way to unwind. I was also physically in pain from my autoimmune issues. So I thought that would help me sleep and help the pain. And
Right.
it turns out it was just this like spiral that like I couldn't get out of. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I have a drink. Then Sunday, I'm having the Sunday scaries. I'm going to have a drink. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm recovering from all that drinking. And by the time my body starts to kind of regulate, I have another drink. And I think a lot of women I like speak with and meet are in that same position. And it's really scary to admit it. And it's scary to get out of it.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of that.
Well, and again, I think that you said that not only are you like a lot of people think drinking makes them like feel good and want to dance and fun. Not, I don't think people talk enough about what happens, the mentalness after the drinking, the hangover anxiety, the depression. I mean, I have friends that it is obvious that a day or two after they're drinking, like they're annoying. And like it's hard for and I like don't hold back a lot of times, but I'm like, you understand this is because you were out, right? And like you also like don't drink enough water. You're not getting your electrolytes. Like,
They're
duh.
not sleeping. They're not getting
Yeah,
enough sleep, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Donnie, can you explain some of the mental benefits of reducing and abstaining from alcohol? obviously from a doctor's knowledge.
Absolutely. So, abstaining from alcohol, you can have improved mood, as we were talking about. A lot of people have decreased anxiety, decreased panic attacks. It has been shown to improve sleep habits. A lot of people report having more energy and more focus. And as I said, alcohol has no nutrition, it has no health benefits, and it can increase some other medical issues. As Drew was saying, it can affect any organ. I didn't even mention the pancreas and the kidneys it can affect. And when you are healthier, you actually feel better. And one thing that Drew was saying she didn't even realize that she was depressed. A lot of people listening may not really realize that they're actually depressed and they're self-medicating. So I'm going to tell you a mnemonic that we use just to say, oh, I have those things. You might be depressed. So we use sad faces. So S is sleep. Are you having any sleep issues? Too much, too little? A is appetite, eating too much or too little. D is a medical word that we say euphoria, which is basically sadness. Are you sad most of the time? If you're honest with yourself. F is fatigue. A is agitation. Do you get agitated easier? You're really snappy. C is concentration. So that focus. A lot of people come to me and they think that they have ADD starting in adulthood. That's not really how ADD works. It's because their focus is off and because they've been drinking. Esteem is part of it. Your self-esteem is low. You just feel bad on yourself. And then, when in really serious cases, you can have suicidal ideation. So we call that sad faces.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I think a lot of people, especially, maybe Gen X or even boomers, that they think depression is just sadness or, like you said, suicidal thoughts. They don't realize that appetite and irritability and is such a massive indicator of depression. And so
Mhm.
many people don't realize that. They just think that they're stressed and they're snapping at people, and they tend to snap at the people they're closest to.
Yeah.
Kind of, Drew,
Yeah.
like you said, then that spirals because then you're arguing more and you're not even realizing where that's all coming from? So mindfulness obviously comes up a lot, and it's going to come up a lot during the holidays. Can you explain, Dr. Johnny, what mindfulness is and why it's helpful to be mindful during this busy holiday season?
I mean, it's so hectic. There's so much going on. There's parties, there's obligations. Being mindful is just being present in the moment, observing your feelings, owning your feelings, as Drew was saying. You have to take a second and say, what am I feeling? How is this affecting me? I think it's so important to be intentional. So you're like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to limit the amount of responsibilities I have. I'm going to cut down on the amount of yeses that I say, and I'm going to be very intentional and be very intentional about taking care of yourself. This is what I need. I need to hydrate. I need to eat better. I need to sleep more. There's a big difference between health and wellness to me. Health is just what you are right now. Right now, what is your health? Wellness is actively trying to be better. So mindfulness is being intentional about trying to be better, trying to have better wellness, doing things intentionally so that you can be better in the future.
Yeah. And again, I think some people think the word mindfulness is like voodoo, right? They're like,
Right,
God, I
right.
don't have time to be mindful. I have to do 900 things. But you end up feeling worse if you don't take time for yourself, in the long run. And so it's like you said, there's so many benefits of it. And a lot of times people don't realize that the mental anguish or anxiety makes then your physical symptoms that more prominent, right,
It
Dr.
does. It does. And it doesn't take, you don't have to sit down and take 4 hours. No one has that much
Mhm.
time during the day. It can be a few moments in the morning. It could be several moments in the shower. It could be when you're drinking your coffee or on your way to work, you have a 30-minute drive to work, and that is your time that you take to be mindful. It doesn't have to be, this 4 hours out of your day. No one has time for that. It could be yoga or meditation, but it needs to be intentional, because without a plan, we really don't really do it. We really
Right.
need to think, well, what am I going to do to be intentional about being healthier, having wellness instead of just health?
Health. Yeah, so true. Drew, you ready? Gingerbread glow mocktail demo number two.
Yes.
Getting a little fancy with this, but you don't have to use the shaker. But I'm going to pour some ice in the shaker. And then we have apple cider, which I love Trader Joe's apple cider. And I fought through Trader Joe's on Monday just for this for you guys. So I'm like a cat, like it's like 1, 2, 3, count to 3 while pouring.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add some cinnamon in there.
Ooh.
And
Oh,
one of my secret things is a little bit of coconut cream. It doesn't taste like coconut. I don't like the taste of coconuts, but I'm going to put a little splash of that, just a little splash. And then we're going to shake it up. And listen, you don't have to get this fancy. You could just use a spoon and stir it. I got to show you a little bit of my skills, right?
Yes, yes.
So we're going to shake it up.
This is so fun. Like if you are at, whether you're at a holiday party or you're hosting, or even if you're just having like a movie night at home and you just want to make it you feel a little bit more festive and fun, like look how fun that is.
And then I love ginger beer and a little fizz. And you'd think ginger beer, coconut cream, apple cider, is that weird? It's not. So we're
Yeah.
just gonna do a little splash on top to give it a little fizz. And then some cinnamon just to garnish, or you could do a cinnamon stick. We're just gonna go a little cinnamon on there. It's gorgeous if you're having a dinner party or like Christmas Eve with family and some people don't want to drink. This is the perfect option.
Yeah. Looks
Here.
delicious.
And I think like just on the quick note of being mindful, I think for me, a lot of times it's been letting the kids decorate the Christmas tree instead of me controlling it.
Yes.
Saying no to all the things like, I know it's really hard, but sometimes that's for me being mindful. Like I'm at my limit. If I add one more thing on, it's going to push me over. So I've learned to be like, I'm going to have FOMO probably, and the person might be mad at me, but like stress is our biggest killer. I feel like I'm sure Dr. Denee can agree. I feel like the stress on our body is some of the most harmful things. And so we push ourselves to the limits. There is no way to find mindfulness or wellness. So it's those little things for me. And I don't know if anybody on here is a mom or running a household or taking care of somebody, but it's just like those little things that we want to control all the time and be on top of and want to keep up with everybody else and have the perfect Christmas tree. I've learned to let that go. And that's helped me a lot.
Yeah, it's so true. And also, not only that, but like when you said FOMO, a lot of times you just feel like you have to do things rather than wanting to do the thing.
Yes.
And I
yeah.
feel like that's a lot to do too. And then even, and it's not being dramatic, but then you have like the guilt of not doing it, the shame of not doing it, right? Like, and they're like, oh, I can't just be sitting at home. Like, that's weird. And learning how to let go of all that, you know what I mean? And just being like, I need to do this to fulfill me, and I think that a lot of
Makes a
men,
difference.
yeah, and I just don't think a lot of men think that. It's like, especially women, especially moms, especially working moms, you take on so much. I mean, I'm not a mom, and I'm like, you're literally superheroes, like super, like you just have permanent capes on your back at all time.
I think all women do. There's a lot of pressure on us women in society to hold everything together, regardless of where you are in that journey of motherhood or womanhood.
Yeah. And so how about let's talk about this about family, right? So Dr. Donnie, when it's no surprise that alcohol can influence family, can influence personal relationships, and can you explain why that is? And then also then Drew, maybe explain like the conversations you had with your family and friends when you decided like I'm not drinking anymore.
I mean, it's often overlooked that, as Drew was saying, there's a ripple effect of just relying on alcohol, self-medicating. Our kids are watching that, first of all. Our kids see how we cope with stress, right? So if you come home and you're like, oh guys, you are stressing me out, I'm gonna get some wine, or they're like, okay, they see everything. So that's one thing, but it also doesn't teach yourself good coping mechanisms. And I try to mention to my patients, listen, you're stressed out. A lot of people are stressed out, but I want you to consciously think about some healthy coping mechanisms. So there's healthy and unhealthy. And I don't think that we consciously think that out. And like I said before, if you don't have a plan, it's not going to work. So, because when you're in the moment, you just want to smash something or you want to throw things or you want to slam a door. But if you think ahead, when I get stressed out, I am going to count. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to watch a funny movie. I'm going to listen to some music that doesn't make me more depressed. Like, you need a plan, maybe even have a playlist for that moment. But and it can be literally named that playlist for that moment. But we need to have healthy versus unhealthy coping mechanisms. The slamming the door, the throwing something through the wall, the shaking, your kid. It just doesn't lead to good family dynamics. And it's a triple effect when you add alcohol to that. It actually can make those things worse.
Yeah, it's learning, regulating your emotions, right? And again, that's also a generational thing. We talked that a little bit about that before, of how, like, each generation kind of handles things differently, and being able to cope. And I always kind of joke around that my mom was never a drinker, and she'd be like, just say a couple Hail Marys, you're fine. But like, maybe prayer, right? Or like, maybe you have crystals, or like you said, music, like whatever that is. Like, I don't think we talk enough about coping skills, right? Everybody talks about mental health, but like, coping is such a huge part of mental health. So, Drew, how did you have those conversations with your family and friends once you decided that you're not going to drink anymore?
Yeah. So I think it's a ripple effect in a positive way for me, thankfully. Also, I do want to mention, yeah, like the osmosis of like what your family sees and then they do. I grew up where there's a lot of alcohol, so I just thought that you drank for funerals, weddings, when you're angry, when you had a long day at work. So I didn't want my kids to do that. Didn't want, like, I didn't want to say don't drink, and then here I am drinking every night. So I had conversations with my children, my older children. I have four. So the older two are more like they could understand. And I just was like, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore. It's not a healthy habit, and it doesn't always lead to the best places. And I think that was a really open and honest conversation when they were teenagers. And I think it was very helpful as they enter, like they're in college now. My husband was like pouring out the alcohol down the drain before he even got out of the hospital, because he was like, we're not, like, we're done. We're not drinking. It's fine. I'm not drinking either. So finding that support person, like, to have my husband quit drinking with me was probably like, it was a game changer. And I know not everybody will have that support, but I think you have to find that support person.
Yeah.
And it's been a ripple effect. Like, my mother stopped drinking. My dad doesn't really drink anymore. A lot of my friends, like I have a few friends that have like been like, I just hang out with you. We don't drink. And I really like the way I feel, and I'm just not drinking anymore. And it wasn't like they had to have this like life or death like moment. They were like, I just like how I feel without alcohol. So it's been a really positive ripple effect. And then I have lost a lot of friends that I used to go out and have drinks with or happy hour. They stopped calling, they stopped inviting me to the parties, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
think that unfortunately, that's like, we have people in our life for seasons and reasons. And um, once I kind of chose myself and to nourish myself and quit, like, drinking and going out and happy hour, I wasn't fun to them, I guess. I don't know. They stopped calling, and I just was like, well, it is what it is. So there is that chance. Like, you do lose friendships, and relationships can kind of fade away. But I think at the end of the day, you're like positively impacted by like how your body is feeling, that it's okay. You realize like that's not for me anymore, and that's okay.
And
So yeah,
a lot of times people, their reaction to that had to do with them, not you.
yeah,
Like, they probably felt some sort of way. And again, going back to like understanding emotions, understanding what they're dealing with, they're just like, she's not fun, instead of being like, why is this my reaction to this. So many people don't self-reflect. And like you said, those people, you then get to make the decision, well, like, I don't necessarily need them in my life?
Yeah. I think,
Um,
yes, like you said, sometimes it's the biggest trigger to tell somebody you don't drink because it's like, oh, it's a way they feel about their drinking. So I agree.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
People are like, wait, you don't want it? I'm like, no, I'm singing Earth, Wind, and Fire at the wedding. Like, I'm
Yeah.
good. You're the one sitting being like, oh, I need a drink to loosen up. Like, I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that. Like, put some Beyonce on. But so you go really quick about your husband, like he just immediately was like, I don't want to drink. You didn't even have to have a conversation with him because that really is, I think, such a game changer for people who are in relationships. A lot of people um would have conflict in that sense.
Yeah. So turns out my husband wasn't really a big drinker. I was the whole time. I just didn't realize. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, he wasn't ever really a big drinker. I was more of like the retired party girl, I call myself. Like, let's have drinks. Let's go have drinks. Like, let's, every time 3 or 4 like drinks at happy hour, and then we have drinks at home. But I think he realized that like it was like I think it was a really scary situation, whereas like it could have gone to where like I wasn't here anymore. And I think at that point he was like, no, we're done. And like sometimes I'll be like, do you want to have a drink? Order like a whiskey on the rocks. Like that was his thing. And he's like, no, I'm good. And he
Yeah.
has had drinks here and there, but then the next day he's like, I feel terrible because he hasn't had a drink in so long. He realizes how toxic it is to his body. So we just choose as a family and as a couple, we just don't drink and we find fun options and
Yeah.
mocktails and zero
Yeah.
proof beer is really good
Well,
too.
we really do bond as a culture over food and drink. And
Mhm.
then we wonder why we're overweight because every time we say, let's go out to eat, or, let's go. I mean, we have to eat. So it's okay. I'm not saying it's not okay to eat, but that's really how most gatherings are over food or drink. So if you're not like, oh, I can't go out to happy hour. We have to create other spaces for ourselves to say, well, let's go bowling or let's go, watch a film or let's get together and talk over, whatever. You can talk
Yeah.
about culture or whatever, but we have to find other little ways for us to meet up, gather, because we still need each other. We still need to gather, but it doesn't always have to be surrounded around alcohol.
Yeah, we have one more mocktail, but Dr. Donnie, I want to ask you this really quick because I just thought about it. I'm sure you have patients that have decided that they want to stop drinking. They have a partner that isn't supportive. What's some advice that you would give them to have that conversation about, because then that adds another side of conflict, right? So what would be, I know it's a very complex conversation, but
Mhm.
just in your expertise, how would you say to start to approach that?
I mean, it's really hard, but I call them accountability partners. And that sounds like a real grown up word, but I don't mean it to be. But we need accountability partners. So I have an accountability partner that helps me keep on track to make sure that I'm walking.
Mhm.
And I get mad at her. I'm like, my accountability partner is not doing her job. And then, I help her, she helps me. But I mean, it really comes around just that village of support that we
Yeah.
have. Um, if you recognize that your loved one is struggling and needs something, you have to also help. You can't expect them to just do it on their own sometimes. And I think it's just a testament about how we support each other. I really find it difficult. I know that this is not what we're talking about, sorry, but I find it more difficult to get partners to stop smoking.
Mhm.
And stop smoking than drinking actually, but it's how we support each other, and we really have to again be intentional about seeing that the loved one is hurting, seeing that they need something, and supporting them any way that we can.
Yeah. All right. Mocktail number three, frosted
I-
citrus spritz. It looks so good, Drew.
So I'm gonna talk through this real quick too about a mindfulness trick that I do when I make my drinks, because it kind of helps me bring my like, nervous system and calm my energy when I'm having my non-alcoholic nightcap. So sometimes I like to speak life into it. So I'll pour like the orange juice and I'll tell like, okay, this is my abundance. I'm looking for abundance in my relationships. And then I'm grabbing my grapefruit juice and I'm like, This is my wellness of abundance that I need in my life. And then I'm actually adding a bitters into this one, which is great for digestion. It's actually a zero alcohol too. So this is something you can add. You don't have to, but I love a functional mocktail. So I'm adding a dropper of that. And then, I might say like I want a better relationship with my mother. And then I pour that into my drink. There's these just things that you can
Yeah.
say that you want in
Yeah.
your life. And then
Speak it into existence.
yes, and then we're gonna stir this one up. So we did orange juice, grapefruit, sparkling water. And then I'm gonna throw a little orange garnish in there to make it pretty. But then you're gonna drink all of that abundance and manifestation and all that goodness. And it's just like it's a whole ritual, and then we're embodying all that energy. So
Yeah.
cheers to being more mindful. And this is like a
Cheers.
fun thing to do. You're making your non-alcoholic drink, you're about to watch your show or whatever, and you're just like speaking life into the beverage and then you're drinking it.
Absolutely. I believe in all, we're just moon dust, right? We're just particles floating in
Yeah.
the air. So I love it.
Yeah.
So we received a number of questions on how to create downtime for ourselves during high stress times and how to stay positive. Dr. Donnie, do you have any advice on what we can do about maybe setting boundaries with social commitments, refraining downtime as self-care, anything that you recommend to your patients that you could recommend to everybody watching?
Yeah, I mean, it really is about setting boundaries and saying, I can't say yes to everything. I have a hard time with that too, but I'm getting better. You can't say yes to everything. You have to schedule things. I think also what we don't do is accept help from others when they say, you're cooking Thanksgiving and other people ask for help and you say no. No, don't say no. Ask for help. People can
Yeah.
bring things and you don't have to do everything yourself. But find ways to that really bring joy. You can even schedule joy. You can, and I know that sounds funny. I should coin that term, but you should schedule joy. You can say, on February 1st, I'm going to get a facial. And
Yeah.
then, so and you make your appointment, and then all of January, you are looking forward to it. It doesn't have to be your birthday, doesn't have to be something big. Or you can say, I am going to meet with some college friends. It's just something to look forward to. You have to schedule things ahead of time and then look forward to it. Find moments of just enjoying even the small things that you do. And it doesn't have to be very expensive. You can say, I'm just going to get my girls together and we're going to try a new recipe or one of Drew's mocktails. Or, I recently, me and my kids, we went to a perfumery and we made perfume. Yeah, it
Ooh,
was cool.
where
It was
was
pretty cool.
that?
It's in Lansdale, PA. I'm good at
Okay.
it too. It's a lot of fun and it's inexpensive.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it's really fun. So just find positive ways to pour into yourself, pour into your kids. Detox from alcohol, go on short walks.
Mhm.
I didn't realize I wasn't breathing right. I mean, I went to med school. They didn't teach us how to breathe.
Yeah.
And we didn't grow up with yoga. And someone said to try, I think my friend is on today. Thank you, Robin. She said to try a 30-day yoga challenge. And I tried it, and who knew? I wasn't even breathing correctly when I get stressed out. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So just find just different ways of pausing, not taking on too much, and just enjoying the small things and looking forward to things in the future too.
Well, I think both of you are such great examples. So, Dr. Donnie, you just
I
said
have
something,
4 kids too.
yeah, which is crazy, but like you just said in passing, like I went to med school and like I didn't even necessarily know how to breathe correctly. And then obviously, Drew, like you decided to do this whole new business journey, right? And I think one of the main reasons I love doing these sessions so much is because just because you did something one way for a long period of time does not mean you can't do it differently. And I always say,
Absolutely.
like, how incredible that as human beings, that we have these incredible brains that we could learn something new every second of every day and never reach capacity. And that we have these incredible hearts and could love something new every second of every day and never reach capacity. So just because you did something one way for 40 years doesn't mean that you can't do something different for the next 50 years, you know? And I like to, especially women, I think you just like, well, I never did a perfume class before. I'm just going to watch The Real Housewives. It's like we live in this incredible area in the Delaware Valley where we have all this culture and whether you go to a museum that you've never been to before, right? So it's like just because you never did it before doesn't mean you can't do it now, you know?
Right.
And you two
That's
are like
perfect.
examples of that. Like you're a doctor and you're still learning and 4 kids and Drew were in the ICU and you're like I'm starting a business and now I'm in Vogue. So how about that?
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So good. So let's go through some of these questions. Drew, any suggestions for decent non-alcoholic wines? Yes, go to her store. She'll tell you
Yeah.
it's just for 300.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So there's like a brand called Oddbird, Good Twin. What I do pride myself on is if you like message us on Instagram or Facebook or comment, we will walk you through everything. We have a tasting bar. We only bring the best of the best in. When we first started, I brought in everything. And I'm going to be honest, some of the non-alc wine is not great. 5 years ago, it's just new. So they are getting better and better. Lotus, like there's a Groovy, Dry Red. There's a lot of really good brands. So I would encourage you to visit my site or just message us on social media or email us, and I'd be happy to send you all the links.
Awesome. Dr. Tony, this is a good one. I'm on a GLP-1, and ever since I started, I noticed alcohol makes me nauseous. Any recommendations? Drew, you could take this as well.
Yeah.
So GLP-1s work in 4 different ways. That's a whole nother talk. But one of the ways is that it does decrease appetite. So when you try to drink alcohol, it actually interferes with it and can increase nausea. It can increase nausea, it can increase bowel issues. So of course, you could try mocktails. You can decrease the alcohol actually the amount of time the amount of the actual amount that you drink. You can have some but not as much. But here's the thing, your absorption is different when you're on a GLP-1, and it actually increases the amount of absorption that you're getting from the alcohol. If you're on any other medicines, it interferes with your medicines. It makes the GLP-1 not work as well. So your metabolism is not sped up. So you actually don't lose as much weight, and because it interferes with how the GLP-1 works, and it can make you really nauseous from that. So it messes up your glucose metabolism, so your sugars aren't as regulated. So it really is not a great combination, and it's not surprising that your body is actually talking to you saying, this is not good for me. This combination is not good for me. So it's really not a great combination. And you might want to try something that has a little bit of a lower proof if you really did need to drink. But I say try Drew's shop, and I'm not giving her any plugs. I haven't been there myself. I plan to go, but it could be an alternative because your body is telling you, that it's not a good mix. We have to listen to our bodies.
Yes.
When our bodies have headaches, when our bodies have pain, when our bodies feel tired, when we feel overwhelmed and we're having panic attacks. People don't realize that sometimes just changing things in our diet, adding anti-inflammatories. I was telling Nicole earlier when we talked in the week, eat the rainbow and not Skittles. I'm talking about eating more fruits and vegetables because each color does something different. The greens help with digestion, and the yellows and the whites help with our immune system, and the deep purples, they also help with the immune system, but they help with brain health and skin health. So when we're eating healthy, our bodies tell us. And when we're eating things that, aren't mixing well, our bodies will also tell us.
And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like, we're so lucky that we live in a time that people always want to say social media. There's so much to learn, right? Like most people don't know that bell peppers have more vitamin C than an orange, or that the purple Japanese sweet potatoes is like one of the most healthiest things you could eat. And like it's fun to eat colorful like that, but you could learn that there's so much knowledge out there. And again, why not try something if you've never had it before, give it a whirl.
People they only think about bananas when it comes to potassium, but apricots and kiwis have 3 times more potassium than banana. So who knew?
Who knew? Exactly. Another quick question. Stress relievers for caretakers of elderly parents that complain constantly. That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. Do you have any suggestions?
I mean, that's a whole nother talk, but
Topic. Yeah,
being
yeah,
being in the sandwich generation is hard when you're
yeah.
taking care of kids and you're taking care of parents. I mean, again, we have to find some healthy boundaries for ourselves, and we have to consciously think about those healthy boundaries, because just turning to alcohol or turning to just pulling up the covers and just staying in the bed sounds a lot like depression. But you have to ask for help. I don't know how sick your parents are, and I hope that things work out, but you have to get help for them. Their doctors can get them home health aides. You can get meals that are delivered. You can schedule meeting times with their physician, like a whole meeting just for the family to come together and enroll your siblings, or even their neighbors sometimes want to help. Maybe their neighbors can take out their trash or shovel their snow, just things to kind of take a few things off your plate. But I don't recommend that you do it all on your own if possible. And you have to remember to take care of yourself. Sometimes people, they don't get their mammograms, they don't come in and get their blood work done, they don't even refill their medication. And when they come in, they're like, oh, I'm just taking care of my mom. But if you don't take care of yourself, who is going to take care of your mom? It's that old adage about when you're in the plane, you have to put your face mask on first before you can take care of someone else. So make sure you're getting the oxygen and taking care of yourself so that you can help others.
Yeah. I love the theme too today was like ask for help. I think so many people feel like we live in this like very siloed society, and like really there's a reason that you shouldn't have a village. And I think it's so important. I grew up in a really small town in the Poconos, like doesn't even have any traffic lights. And so that's how I grew up, with like so many people helping. And I try to encourage that as well, that like that's what friendships are. That's what like being a good human to help your village, it helps you, right? It's not
Yes,
just
yes.
on you.
Yeah, I think you like read my mind. I think we've gone so far from village mentality, even being like a mother of four, like they don't even carpool anymore. Like, do you like,
I
and I
know.
grew up,
I got shamed for carpooling, like
yeah.
shamed.
So yeah, I agree. We need to
Terrible.
get back to that village mentality because
Mhm.
that's like what keeps us going.
100%.
Mhm.
So before we end, we always like to end with one piece of advice that you'd like to share. If there's just one key takeaway for someone either struggling with alcohol or added stress, what would it be, Drew, if you want to go first?
Yeah. I think I always say this, give yourself grace. None of
Mhm.
us are perfect. None of us have it all together. We make mistakes. We stumble, we fall. We just have to pick ourselves back up and just give yourself grace. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, don't ever feel like the pressure always has to be on you. Like you're allowed to fail. You're allowed to win. You're allowed to not know what you want to do, but just allow yourself to feel that and be okay with it sometimes.
Yeah. Dr. Donnie?
So, from a medical standpoint, I would say that I wanted to make sure I said that 3 or more drinks per week increases your risk of those 7 types of cancer. So, limit it to 1 or 2 a week and find some other ways to kind of bring joy into your life. You can pick months that you're going to quit, enlist your friends, kind of make it a challenge, have fun with it, have prizes, like just be creative with it. I really think that you need a plan, because if you're not really thinking about it, being intentional, it's really not going to happen. And you're going to look up and it's going to be June and nothing has changed. But seek help. Don't have to do it yourself. And I just want to say thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that there is so much knowledge and information, you have, people like Drew who has this business that is so willing to help. And then you obviously have Dr. Donnie, and there's so many incredible doctors out there too that, this is what you do every single day, that do not be afraid to ask the questions. And that's why Virtua is so wonderful too, where it's like we have these sessions, we have these incredible doctors. It's like, do not be afraid to ask for help, and know that you can do it. Kind of, Drew, what you
Yes,
said, like have that inner, you gotta love yourself to be like, I want to feel the best version of myself, and this is, we do these things as kind of like a starting point, and then you're gonna go and spread your wings and do it. So
absolutely.
thank you again so much. Obviously, have a very, very wonderful holiday season, and a recording of this session will be emailed to you in the next week. Virtua Primary Care. Go to virtua.org/RT appointment. You could also call at 888 Virtua-3. For more information about Gem Life and Bar Bottle Shop, visit gemlifecollective.com. Once again, thank you so much for joining us as always. Thank you, Dr. Donnie and Drew, for the incredible, great chat. Have a wonderful holiday season, an even better new year. And yeah, hopefully we'll do more of these in the coming months. And
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers,
guys, see
guys.
ya.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy
Cheers.
holidays.
Cheers.
Happy holidays.